Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. We'll start with the headlines. His Excellency the Chairman of the Libyan House of Representatives stresses on the Sultanate's important efforts to solve the Libyan crisis. The Shura Council session continued discussing the statement of His Excellency the Minister of Regional Municipalities and Water Resources. 40 new residential schemes were approved in various governorates of the Sultanate to provide around 30,000 plots. And as the blessed Eid al-Fitr gets closer, the Ministry of Health calls for taking preventive measures when dealing with animals to avoid Crimean hemorrhagic fever. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in details. Discussing developments of situation in Libya, as well as reviewing points of view on several regional and international issues of common concern, were the center of talks of His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi bin Abdullah, Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, with Martin Kobler, the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General and Head of the United Nations Support Mission in Libya, within the framework of his current visit to the Sultanate. His Excellency Aqila Saleh Isa, Chairman of the Libyan House of Representatives, met at his residence place in the Grand Hyatt Hotel Muscat with Martin Kobler, the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General, within the framework of the Libyan parties' meetings hosted by the Sultanate. The two sides discussed the difficulties facing the conclusion of the Libyan political agreement in its right way, which comes in line with the requirements of all the components of the Libyan people. The meeting also reviewed the current situation experienced by Libya. Martin Kobler stressed the importance of the Sultanate's role in enhancing the convergence of views between all Libyan parties. He touched on the Sultanate's peaceful role that supports dialogue in many regional and international issues.
Well, I think it's very important to use the links Libya has with Oman in order to bring the political process but also the social structures in Libya ahead. And it's important now to use all means, in particular also to use the role of Oman and their excellent relations with Libya in order to bring the state together in a structure of the state where rule of law prevails, where the tribal structures are respected, and that there is a unified Libyan state. There is a lack of electricity. There is a lack of education. 60% of the hospitals do not work, and that there is a humanitarian situation with internally displaced people all over the country, which is just not acceptable. And it's very important to solve these problems, and also the fight against terrorism, which frightens the neighboring states. And that's why it's important now to use all means, including the role of the Sultanate of Oman now, to bring the warring factions here together.
His Excellency, the Chairman of the Libyan House of Representatives, held a consultation meeting with the Libyan heads of tribes in the presence of the Special Representative of the UN Secretary General to Libya. It came within the context of meetings being hosted by the Sultanate for Libyan parties. They reviewed latest developments with regard to national events and ways to bring together views as to reach a unified national vision by all Libyan parties to ensure stability in Libya. They also discussed differences with regards to political agreements and listened to views and proposals of Libyan tribes as to achieve a real deal that achieves security and stability for Libya and its people. His Excellency Aqila Saleh Isa, Chairman of the Libyan House of Representatives, stressed on the Sultanate's important efforts to solve the Libyan crisis due to its neutral stance and respect among all. He requested the Sultanate's intervention, explaining what is happening in Libya. On his turn, His Excellency Yusuf bin Alawi said he will exert his utmost efforts to help Libyans reach a satisfactory accord. Dignitaries and senior officials of Libya met with Kobler today and informed him of the dialogue and the situation in Libya, expecting the Sultanate's support to the Libyan efforts seeking to obtain a real accord to form a government that satisfies everyone, obtains the trust, and swears the oath in front of the House of Representatives according to legislations applied in all countries, and achieves sovereignty of the Libyan people. Discussing the reply of the Council of Ministers to the Council of Oman's views on the projects of the 9th Five-Year Development Plan 2016-2020 and the state's general budget for the current year were the most important topics discussed by the State Council's office meeting today. It also dealt with preparations for Knowledge-Based Economy Symposium, which aims to upgrade all economic sectors. The office also viewed a report on the Council's participation in the Arab parliamentary activities. The meeting was chaired by His Excellency Dr. Yahya bin Mahfoud al-Mandari, Chairman of the State Council. Around 12,000 violations were issued by the Ministry of Regional Municipalities and Water Resources last year. This was stressed by His Excellency Ahmed bin Abdullah Shahi, Minister of Regional Municipalities and Water Resources, before the Shura Council. He also said that combating Crimean hemorrhagic fever is not part of his ministry's tasks, and its role is only to notify the concerned bodies if a case is discovered. Shura Council members questioned precautionary measures taken at slaughterhouses. The discussion also dealt with the need to simplify the procedures for house electricity connection for some villages in the wilaya of Al-Jazr. Meanwhile, His Excellency the Minister promised to solve the problems of citizens in Rima residing near oil concession areas. Shura Council members also raised the issue of dumping areas and benefiting from them in power and compost production and metal and plastics recycling. They also stressed that money should not be spent on projects without actual feasibility. In turn, the Minister of Regional Municipalities and Water Resources pointed out that projects are continuing despite the current challenges. Still to come in our news bulletin. The Sultanate of Oman Television Team B wins the Ramadan football competition. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. 40 new schemes were reviewed by the Technical Committee of the Urban Planning during its 10th meeting for the year, during which 40 schemes were approved to provide around 30,000 plots for different uses to fulfill the increasing demand on land in the Sultanate in light of the increasing population and economic activities. The most prominent schemes reviewed are the Al-Jifnain scheme in the wilaya of Sib, Al-Shilal in the wilaya of Ibri, Hayy al-Barakat in the wilaya of Adam, Al-Aija in the wilaya of Sur, Al-Ma'mur in the wilaya of Rustaq, and Al-Jardah in the wilaya of Mudebi. South Sharqiya topped governorates of the Sultanate in the number of new schemes by providing 15 schemes, followed by North Al-Batana. Other schemes were distributed in governorates of Muscat, Dakhiliya, Zahira, North Sharqiya, and South Sharqiya. As the blessed Eid al-Fitr is getting closer, the Ministry of Health called upon citizens and residents to take preventive measures when dealing with animals to avoid the Crimean hemorrhagic fever. One of the measures was to ensure that the animals do not have ticks, which carry the disease. The ministry also instructed to wear protective clothes, hand gloves, and boots when dealing with animals. It as well told the citizens and residents to put the unwanted parts of the carcasses at dumping sites to avoid the disease. The ministry said that the symptoms of this fever appear after a period of 1 to 13 days. The symptoms are fever, headache, muscle pains, diarrhea, sleeplessness, and depression. The ministry affirmed the readiness of all health institutions in the Sultanate to deal with this fever. Affiliates of the 29th course who studied at the Command and Staff College implemented part of the exercise activity Al-Hazm. The exercise came within the context of the general curricula plan of the round. Al-Hazm exercise, which is implemented during the period from 21st until the 30th of this month, comes to achieve training goals, starting from the deal with scientific basis in analysis and benefiting from the latest information technology that keeps pace with the requirements of joint military operations. The exercise was attended by Lieutenant General Ahmed bin Harith al-Nabhani, Chief of Staff of the Sultan's Armed Forces. The Sultanate of Oman Television Team B was crowned champions of the Ramadan football competition, which was held among a number of media organizations. Oman TV Team beat the financial and administrative sector in the finals 3-1 through penalties. The final match was held at the Public Authority for Electricity and Water Playground in Boshar.
علي يفوت ويجرب. يا سلام ياسر تتويج احسن لاعب في الفريق 6 اهداف من فريق الاذاعه.
Here are the Ramadan times for tomorrow. Fajr prayers at 3:56 a.m. and Maghrib prayers at 7:03 p.m. And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Partly cloudy to cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the governorates of Wusta and South Sharqiya with chances of scattered rainfall, while the governorate of Dhofar will witness cloudy skies with chances of intermittent drizzle and fog. The rest of the Sultanate will have clear skies with chances of high clouds in some areas. Winds will be easterly to northeasterly light to moderate over the coast of the Sea of Oman, while it will be south to southwesterly light to moderate and occasionally active over the coast of the Arabian Sea. The rest of the governorates, it will be southeasterly light to moderate. Seas will be rough along the coasts of the Arabian Sea with a maximum wave height of 4.5 meters and slight along the rest of the coast with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Excellency the Chairman of the Libyan House of Representatives stresses on the Sultanate's important efforts to solve the Libyan crisis. The Shura Council session continues, discussing the statement of His Excellency the Minister of Regional Municipalities and Water Resources. 14 new residential schemes were approved in various governorates of the Sultanate to provide around 30,000 plots. And as the blessed Eid al-Fitr gets closer, the Ministry of Health calls for taking preventive measures when dealing with animals to avoid the Crimean hemorrhagic fever. With that, we come to an end to tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, good night.